Last video of the day today is going to be on hope. Now, along my journey, there was many times that I could have given up hope, and I felt very hopeless a huge amount of times. And when I think back now and I look at those moments, they primarily came from me just thinking to myself, how am I ever going to get better, and is it possible at all? Now, if I've just got ready to go out the door because it's very cold outside, and so I've got t-shirt on, jumper, inside of this jacket which zips up, and this jacket is pretty warm, right? And that's what you can do when you're cold. If you're cold, you can put on a coat and different layers, and then you can get warm. It gives you a pretty instant effect. Now, when you're going through OCD, you can't wrap layers around the discomfort. Sure, you can take meds that help take the edge off, right? And that's kind of putting a layer around it. But you really can't. It's like having a broken leg that you're like bouncing on all the time. And you're like, I don't want to bounce on it anymore. It's hurting so much. But that's kind of what's happening, because you can't stop OCD from sort of like self-torturing you in your head. And it does do that when you're in the real sort of throes of it. And what happens is, I realized, look, like the worst that's going to happen on a day-to-day basis is I just feel really bad and I have to lay down, or I go out for a walk and try and keep myself distracted, and like try and socialize a bit, but like completely locked up in my head mentally with like chronic guilt or whatever, and whatever's going on there. And you look back and you think about this stuff and you think, okay, you just made it through the day. But just knowing that I could recover would have been a complete game changer, because then it would have taken the weight off me. Just knowing, like, oh, you don't need to beat yourself up endlessly. You can have compassion and there's no need for chronic guilt. That would have just taken the edge off significantly to some degree. At times, not all the time. Like when it really gets a hold, it sort of like bulldozes through everything. And you've really got to think of it a bit like that with coats. Like you can put coats on to wrap up when you're cold, and you can expect somewhat of an instantaneous result. But that's not always the case. Once I was leaving a nightclub. This is about 15 years ago. And I was in London and it was snowing, right? And I got to the club. I got out of a taxi. I went in, and then it came to the end of the night, and I was talking to some girl outside the club, and it was snowing and there was loads of taxis. And I was talking to her, and then she left. She got in a cab. Right. And I was stuck outside, and I thought to myself, OK, that's all right. There'll be another taxi in a minute. But there wasn't. And then I decided to walk home, and my hair was much longer than this then, and it got really wet, and I wasn't in like a super warm coat. And I walked for a very long time, and I was pouring down with snow. It was absolutely freezing cold, but I thought I'd risk it. And I managed to get a taxi somewhat along the way. But I remember getting into bed that night, and my whole body was trembling like it never trembled before. And I put on a hood, I put on a hat, I ran a warm shower, I got into bed, and it just wouldn't stop trembling. Now, I know today, obviously, that in a situation like that, that's not good, right? That's not good. That's a sign that the body is fighting to keep warm, right? This is how you get hypothermia, and it's not a good thing, right? And I lay in bed and I tried to breathe calmly, and I wrapped myself in lots of layers. And this was going on for a long time. I think it was, I can't remember how long it was, like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours or something, like just that going on in bed. And I thought to myself, don't ever do that again. You were just stupid. If you just had layers on and not got your head wet, you'd have been all right. With OCD, it's like you're soaked, it's snowing, you've just fallen in the River Thames. You're fighting for survival, and you're going to get dunked in that over and over again for years. You wake up in the morning, you might have energy because you feel like you had a refreshed sleep. And then 10 minutes later, 1 second later, you're into the throes of chronic guilt and anxiety. And then what happens is that sort of stays consistent 24/7 in a sort of like semi-guilt and anxiety, constant sort of simmering away cortisol soup all day, and every day. And so you start to lose hope, and you start to think, how am I ever going to get out of this? And there's no putting on coats, there's no going into a warm shower. That's just it. Like, yeah, you have a bit of chocolate for, like, I'd eat like some Cadbury's Dairy Milk chocolate buttons. I'd go for a workout. I'd watch a film I like. All that stuff might take the edge off like 5%, right? But it never really cut it. It never really got under there. Yeah. Only when acceptance got under there. Then I remember the moment. I used to go out a lot when I was young. I still go out a reasonable amount now. But I'm saying, I remember I was in another club years later. I was probably about 20. I can't remember exactly how old I was. And I was standing in a club and I was speaking to this guy. And we were talking about, I can't remember what we were talking about. It was something to do with, it was something to do with something that someone had done. And I thought, I've got complete compassion for them that they did that. This is long before I found out about Albert Ellis and acceptance. And then I thought, I could accept them in that situation. Then I thought to me on the thing that it was latched to, well, if I could accept them, I could probably accept me. And I just felt the guilt release, drop down a gear for like maybe like 2-3 minutes. And I then thought to myself, yeah, but wait a minute, that would apply in that situation, even for me. And if I was my son, I would have that level of acceptance. And then it dropped down more. And then the next couple of hours, it was off. And I thought, fucking hell, I've been stuck like this for years. And I felt so free and had a great night. And I thought to myself, there's more to this, obviously. I can get out of this, but I don't know how I'm going to do it. Those moments, those layers where it comes off and you get that freedom temporarily, game changing. This is what I've been saying for years, to people talking about thoughts are thoughts. I don't bother anymore because it's like speaking to a brick wall when people are obsessed that thoughts are thoughts is the only way to recovery. I can't tell you how many years I'd been trying thoughts are thoughts, mindfulness and so on, and telling myself these things. I couldn't. Right, I couldn't do that. It wasn't possible. It wasn't possible to get the guilt to back off just by telling myself thoughts are thoughts and all these kinds of things. It doesn't work. You can't be tougher to escape OCD. That doesn't work. Yeah, you could work out. If someone had said to me, work out twice a day, eat 7 meals a day. Join the military, try and be a Navy SEAL. I'd have done that. I would have done that because I didn't want to do that. It's not the life I wanted. But I would have done anything to stop that because the level of discomfort and pain that you feel from OCD, unless you've had it, you don't know. There's a reason why people feel so down and out from it because of the intensity. And I have met people that are in the military and so on, and in top level athletes, boxers, SWAT teams for the police, terrified by OCD and feeling on the brink. So never underestimate that. You feel what you feel. It's understandable. And I certainly didn't know that. I thought it was weakness all the time. I thought I'd got to be tougher. I'd got to sort of put this off. It's nothing to do with that. It's like saying you've got to be tougher to survive cancer. It's also, and I've spoken to lots of cancer survivors over the years, you often hear cancer survivors say, like, everyone keeps telling me I'm a survivor and like I'm so strong for surviving. It's like, it's just fucking luck. I like, you don't just cleverly beat it. That's the words that people say. But like, actually, it's just complete luck. Either you survive or you don't. Some people do every bit of treatment, die. Some people don't even do much treatment, win and recover. So it's not winning and losing. It's winning over the cancer, as in the cells beating the cancer cells. But it's not like that. And the same with OCD, in the sense that you didn't pick having OCD, and it's nothing to do with weakness. So you can be the strongest mind, the strongest person. Don't make any difference. OCD is looking to sabotage, looking to cause trouble. And until you break that down by changing your perspectives, it has the upper hand and it's got a grip and it's got a hold. And, all these things are, it's funny when you think of even perception now, right? I'm just about to go out the door and I thought I'd make this video. When I've come in the door, suddenly it's been cold outside and I've got a coat on. I think, I'm not going to take it off straight away. When I'm about to go out the door now, I've been making this video for about 10 minutes. I'm not thinking I'm hot, but I obviously am hot because I'm in a room that's warm, it's heated, and I've got all these layers on. But because I'm immersed in this video, I'm not even thinking about that. Now, if I sit here now and and someone said to me, yeah, you can't take your jacket off for the next hour, they've got some restriction in here or whatever, right? I'd suddenly start to feel sweating and sweltering because of how your mind, when you feel locked in, you can't get out, how it starts to create the symptoms. And then people try and convince you, like they're trying to convince me. No, but I am fucking hot, Rob. Like, even now that I'm thinking about it, oh my God, I'm starting to feel more hot, right? And that is the effect that your beliefs have on your nervous system. People don't realize this. People don't realize the extent of what beliefs do to your nervous system and how you feel and in whatever situation you're going through in life. So that's my job, to help you understand that and see why that is, and help using analogies to help sort of create that almost mental surgery to those beliefs, to change them so that you're no longer restricted and controlled in that chronic guilt and anxiety cycle that feels like it will never leave, because it will. And you can recover no matter how long you've been stuck and no matter how severe. There is hope. It comes off in layers, like layers of an onion, loads of peaks and troughs along the way, but you can get there.